What's up, guys? Tambo here with your weekly core report. It's another monster week for Run Pure Sports members, including another Millie Maker shipper. Let's get to the winners. The World Cup continued to print for our members. Rubio and Jaime have been producing winning content throughout the event, and last week was no different. IPT 007 hit for 6K. K. Reed won 7K. Bobby Hare hit for 10K, while Rubio himself shipped another 16K. We pride ourselves in offering just about every sport for one low price. We'll put our content for all sports up against any competitor when it comes to producing winners. Steve Boynton has been on fire in college basketball, helping our members ship, as well as himself hitting for 2K. Jay Gingery 912 joined him, winning 3K. In the MMA streets, Hoop shipped for 30K using Titletown's playbook. And it's not just on DraftKings where we produce the winners. For prize picks this week, Du Bois hit for $500 and C. McDonald 1016 won $2,500 using our NBA prize picks content. Speaking of NBA, Jesse Samek hit for 6K, while Mangone nailed his core and shipped for 8K. This has been a successful NFL season for Run Pure Sports, making people a ton of money. This week, we produced our second Millie Maker winner of the year. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already to access all our free NFL content. Our members' ROI has been off the charts this season. In week 13, You Should Be turned $80 into 8K. Motor City 2 DFW turned $50 into 5K. King of the North hit for 15K, and I finished in 6th place in the King of the Beach contest, winning 40K. But the biggest winner by far was RPS member Alicia Hunt, who turned $240 into over $1 million.
So typically what I do is I'll go over, the core plays, look at Big T stuff a lot. And what I did was I took bits and pieces of what I liked, and then I threw in some of the stuff that I like.
Congrats again to all our members. If you want to be featured in the core report, drop your winning lineup in the Members Never Win channel in our premium Discord. If you're not a member, join now. You won't find a better value with all sports included for one low price. Remember, if you're not winning with us, you're watching us win. Till next time, let's keep running pure.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the MMA show here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel, talking UFC 282, last pay-per-view of the year, 12-fight card, and joined, as always, by Titletown. What's going on, man?
Going on, DC? Nice always waking up on Saturdays, hopping in the office, talking fights. Pay-per-view season, always fun. This pay-per-view, unfortunately, I thought last week's Fight Night card was definitely better. The pay-per-view only got worse. It was supposed to be, obviously, the main event, the rematch, Yuri and Glover, one of the best fights you'll see.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched that fight, definitely go back and watch it. Supposed to get that rematch. Yuri messed up his shoulder really bad. Glover got asked he got offered the Ankalaev fight. He didn't think he had enough time to prepare. In steps Jan Ankalaev. It should be all right. I mean, I've been saying for a while, I think Ankalaev's the future champ. I didn't think it was going to be like this. Little spoiler alert, that's definitely my pick. I've been hyping him up forever. I cannot get a Jan fight right. So at least I got a strong stance on that one because, man, these other 12 fights, 11 of the 12 are supposed to finish. The other one's plus 100 to finish. So I think we see a lot of big scores, and it should be a fun card. We lost the Daniel Da Silva fight against Salvador yesterday. That fight was good, minus 750 to finish. Was going to minus 150 to finish inside the first round. Like, that fight was going to be awesome. So it looks like the pay-per-view starts now at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. DraftKings still has it at 6 p.m. Eastern. Look if that changes. But yeah, 12 fights, never will complain. Excited to talk some fights with you.
Yeah, there's no way DraftKings would ever mess up anything MMA, DFS related. So it should be good to go. Like you said, a lot of closely lined fights. The two bookend fights, first fight of the night and the last fight, are the only ones, I think, that are over minus 300, maybe one in there that's close to it. So, a lot of different ways to build. We should get some underdogs winning. And should be a fun card as always. With that, let's jump right into it. We'll go fight by fight, starting with the first fight of the night, which is Cameron Simon over Stephen Coslow. Simon is a minus 350 or so. Close to the biggest favorite of the night. It's close between him and Ankalaev. Both these guys, this is their first official UFC fight. I believe one of them had, I think, a Contender Series fight. But yeah, we do see a big favorite to start off this card. So no kind of easing into it. We'll get some ownership here, I'm sure, on Simon, who is sitting at 9,300 Coslow with the $6,900 price tag. Talk to me about this one, Title.
Yeah, it should be a fun fight to kick off the card. I think we see a nice finish to start. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a clash of styles. You get Cameron Simon, 21 years old. He's 6-0. He's coming off the Contender Series. He's a striker. He looks like a very talented striker as well. I mean, we're seeing all these 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old kids. We'll get to the 18-1-year-old later. But, man, these guys are so skilled. They've been doing it for so long. Striking, they're just so well-rounded. The physical strength, it takes a little bit to catch up. But he's going against a Stephen Coslow guy who's also 6-0, 25 years old. All 6 of his wins have come by submission. All 6 of his submissions have come in the first round. Dude has fought absolute bums. Like, he's going out there fighting UNI DC, takes us down. We don't know BJJ very well. He's a couple steps ahead. He'll submit anyone like that in the first round. But these dudes look awful. It's hard to find too much tape. At the end of the day, I'm looking at Stephen Coslow like he's just not UFC caliber. It's hard to find fades on this fight. We're going to go through all these. I mean, this fight's what? Minus 250 to end inside the distance. Coslow wins. He's probably going to find a submission. He's probably going to break the slate. That's the story with all of these guys. I wish there was no late swap. I'd be 150 maxing instead of throwing the 6 entries or whatever I've been doing recently. It's tough. It's a great MME card at the end of the day, but you got to make some stands. I don't think Stephen Coslow's UFC caliber. I think this Cameron Simons dude striking is impressive. I think he's good enough to keep it on the feet. It's he hasn't fought the best competition either, but got to think his last guy in Contender Series was a little better than this Coslow guy. I just don't think he's any good. I think Simon keeps it on the feet. I think he knocks him out probably in the first round, maybe in the second round, but he's one of my favorite Svenos on the card, and I think he makes easy work of Coslow to start the card. But, man, having none of the other guy to start the card and the clash of styles, I can know it'll be a short night for me after the first fight if he loses.
Yeah, it does make sense with the clash of styles. I mean, so you did end up abandoning the 150, no more MMA for you?
I mean, you just, and like people, there's more strategy just like looking at first place. You have to try and get your min cash value when you have losing fighters in your lineup. And I don't know how to program that well enough. I'm not clicking through every 150 of my lineups to make that swap. Like, I'm trying to enjoy the sport that I spend so much time on looking at anyway. So I have abandoned it.
Yeah, it makes sense. And it is interesting. I think people were more looking at because to get to the very top of the tournaments, I mean, if you have a fighter lose, you can't really get there anymore anyway. So, but it is about getting that kind of min cash equity, which
double up instead of get nothing back, and people don't pick it.
That's like the most boring thing to do in DFS, especially when there's fights going on that you want to enjoy. So I totally get it, but I'm sure disappointing for you because it's fun.
That was my favorite. That was the only sport I won 50. I mean, I try and keep good bankroll management. I try and do all that. This is the time. I think there's an edge. I could have fun. And now I'm not going to compete against these computer nerds that don't care about the fights and that will stay on their computer and do that every second. So it's easy to swap 6 lineups or whatever it is. I will say today though, because the queue they released, they used to have like 33 entry queue, 6 entries, all of that. Lately, they just been doing the 500 with 28 people and the 140 with 100 people. They bring back the bigger ones for the pay-per-views. So I'm going to throw my 33 entries. I'm trying to get the queue. I like the larger field ones because you don't care about min cash value there. You need all 6 winners. I feel fine doing that and maxing. So I still have some MME today because of that.
Yeah, makes sense. Let's go to the second fight of the night, a true coin flip between Eric Silva and TJ Brown. This one is favored to finish inside the distance, like most of them are, sitting around minus 200 to not go to a decision. So another one that, in theory at least should have some fireworks and maybe an early finish. Talk to me about Silva and TJ Brown.
Yeah, this is the closest fight on the card. Can't get any closer than minus 110 apiece. It's interesting though. So TJ Brown's been in the UFC for a little while. He's 2-3 in the UFC. Came in as a decently touted prospect. I mean, he's an athletic guy, 16-9, 9 of his wins come by submission, does his best work when the fight is on the mat. He's fun to target in DFS. He averages 3.86 takedowns per 15 minutes. Anytime you expect the fight to hit the mat multiple times, it fits DraftKings scoring well with reversals, top control, takedowns, etc. But man, he just really hasn't been too impressive. He loses to Jordan Griffin his debut, was winning that fight till he lost by guillotine. Danny Chavez beat up his back leg. He fought an awful fight, beats a Kai Kamak in a very close split decision he could have lost. Charles Rosas lost to pretty much everyone recently. That win doesn't do much. Then loses to Shailan Nurbekov last fight where he was a pretty decent sized favorite. The guy he's athletic. Takedowns are solid. His cardio is a little questionable, and he just has awful fight IQ at the end of the day. So we know what TJ Brown is. Eric Silva's the wild card a little bit because he's making his UFC debut off the Contender Series, and he's 35 years old. It's not very often you see 35-year-olds making their debut off a Contender Series. Now he's 9-1, 3 wins by KO, 4 by submission. Looked really good in his Contender Series fight. Got an early takedown, dominated him on the mat, ended up getting a first-round finish. This guy looks pretty good to me. Now, the competition isn't great, whereas TJ Brown has been fighting UFC-level competition. Not great UFC-level competition, but nonetheless better than what Silva's been fighting. But man, based on the eye test and what I've seen from him, the tape I was able to find outside the Contender Series, looks like he has cardio, looks like he's strong, looks like he's good at getting the fight to the mat, good in the clinch. I think he can just wear on TJ Brown, and I just haven't been impressed. I know what one guy is where I'm not very impressed, and the other guy more of a wild card, but he looked 35 years old. It's not like a 22-year-old coming in where he's still green in some areas. He looks a well-rounded fighter. I like the cardio. I'll take the shot on Eric Silva at -110. Now, good fight. Both guys like getting the fight to the mat. The winner has a chance to score well. Should be a high-paced fight. One of my favorite fights on the card in the mid-tier. So I like getting exposure to it, but I really do like Eric Silva in this spot. So decision, finish, all of that stuff. Like all of these fights are pretty much supposed to finish, but this would be one of the fights I wouldn't be too surprised if it goes to decision. Does not affect the scoring though. The ceiling, we know how it goes, DC. 15 minutes of grappling can be better than a second round finish by a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I like the Silva call. I like in general betting against the UFC fighters who you can kind of identify that have kind of the bad fight IQ, right? That have the talent. Because it's, if you look at the people that, you know, have long UFC careers and string together a lot of wins, almost all of them you would describe as having high fight IQ. You look at the record for TJ Brown, right? 16-9. And then just the line here, right? The fact that this is a coin flip fight for a fighter that's talented, that's been in the UFC, kind of tells you something, I think. So I'm with you. I like that Eric Silva call. So could be a good one to get, not an upset, but I bet Silva will be fairly low owned, right? Because he is more expensive and he's not a true favorite. So sitting at 8,300 might get him at fairly low ownership in DFS. Let's go to the next fight on the card. Two veterans here, Billy Quarantillo, and Alexander Hernandez. It is Billy Q, who is a moderate favorite, sitting around -170. What do you see here, Title?
Oh, Billy Q fights are always fun in DFS.
Yeah.
The dude uses his cardio as a weapon. First round's always the most scary for him, but if he can, and he's very, very tough. If you can survive the first round, Billy Q's only been knocked out once in his 4 losses. Billy Q survives, he just takes over, and he'll make you quit. He'll just end up breaking you. Throws very good volume, also absorbs a lot of volume. He lands 7.14 significant strikes per minute, absorbs like 5.86 significant strikes per minute. Now, you don't want to be absorbing over 5 significant strikes against Alexander Hernandez. And Alexander Hernandez is making his featherweight debut. Used to fight at lightweight, 155, made weight at 145. But man, I don't really love the move down. I'm excited to see how it works. He was ripped. He was absolutely shredded for 155. So I was concerned how he'd make the weight. He did make it. Good for him. He's already had cardio problems in the past, though. When the times got tough for him, he's fought good competition. When the times have got tough, he didn't always rise to that occasion. I kind of see it as a first round bust for Alexander Hernandez. I think round 1, he is very live. He has a ton of power. Maybe he'll mix in some takedowns. I don't think that'd be the most smart, but he hits hard. He's shredded. I think he carries the power coming down the vision. Billy Q's tough for sure, but I mean, we know how it goes. You clip someone, you hit him right in the chin, you're going to go out. You hit him in the equilibrium, you're stumbling. I mean, Alexander Hernandez has the power, has 100+ point upside at 7,600. first round or bust though, because once this gets out of the first round, I'm going to be looking at a live betting situation. Just say he does look really good in the first, slowing down a little bit. I'll take dog money and bet Billy Q. But outside of round one, and even in round one, like Billy Q throws a ton of volume. I mean, if he doesn't get clipped, I think he can win this fight 1 through 3 rounds. So it's Billy Q for me. I pencil in he wins rounds 2 and 3. That just means you got to survive round 1. But yeah, Alexander Hernandez has as much upside as anybody at dog price, because the power in the first round when he's fresh, Billy Q does his best work when the other guy gets tired. Hernandez round 1 or Billy Q late finisher decision. I'm going to say Billy Q breaks him and gets a late finish up.
Yeah, I like that call. Hernandez, if you want, you can bet him to win by KO or TKO in round 1 at plus 1,100. I think is a decent shot there. If you want to, take kind of a long shot stab, which we like to do from time to time. So yeah, that's Quarantillo and Alexander Hernandez. Next fight on the card should be another one with some fireworks. Certainly Chris Curtis and Joaquin Buckley, both these guys pack some power. It is Buckley sitting around minus 170. This fight is minus 190 to finish inside the distance. What do you see, Buckley and Chris Curtis?
Yeah, that's one of the hardest fights for me on the card. I went back and forth all week. I mean, so Buckley is in the playbook. Sometimes I write Big T yes, and what that means, Big T asked me to do. He wants a guy. You look at him when he walks out for the walk in. He wants, like, you know what I'm saying. Big T just wants a grown ass man that this guy is gonna win. Just you see 2 random guys on the street, you're like, there's no way that dude's losing. Big T sometimes wants to see that in the playbook. That's Joaquin Buckley. He is always a Big T yes take. Absolutely shredded. He's shorter for the division because he just carries so much muscle with him. So much power. 11 of his 15 wins have ended have ended by KO. He's a striker at the end of the day. He mixes in some takedowns once in a while. He definitely won't be doing that here. Chris Curtis has great takedown defense. Don't think Chris Curtis mixes in takedowns either. I think both guys stand and bang. Now, what does that mean? If this fight goes to decision, you're not going to want any of these 2 fighters unless some guy somehow gets 4 knockdowns and all of that. Which is not likely. You need a finish when 2 guys are going to be striking the whole time. Now, when I was diving in more and more, Buckley looked solid to me in his last performance. I mean, he's fought killers. His last fight was against Imavov, who was a complete stud. But in the 3rd round, Buckley came out hot. His cardio looked really impressive. He showed that he had fight. He was swinging. I was impressed by that performance. But breaking this one down, I wanted to go Buckley at first. I was thinking I was going to go Buckley all weekend. The more I dove into it, though, Chris Curtis, he throws a lot more volume. He lands 5.65 significant strikes to Buckley's 3.31. I think he'll be throwing more volume. And as far as the durability, Curtis has a huge durability advantage. 29-9. He has 38 pro fights. Only has been knocked out once. Whereas you go to Joaquin Buckley, 15-5. 3 of his 5 losses have come by knockout. We've seen him hurt. Chris Curtis has power himself. I love Chris Curtis, how he mixes it up to the body. Chris Curtis was on a good run. I mean, look what he did coming to UFC. Knocks out Phil Hawes, knocks out Brendan Allen, stuffs all Rodolfo Vieira's takedowns, lights him up on the feet. Had a loss against Jack Hermanson last time. We jumped off the train there, but the threat of the takedowns was so much for Chris Curtis. He always had to worry about that, where I don't think he's going to have to worry about that in this one. Just a plain striking match. I'm getting $800 savings on Curtis. And why I love that and why I am going to end up taking the dog because of that 800. Just say this fight does go to decision. Chris Curtis could be optimal. Now, it's still not likely. Could be optimal at 7,700 in a decision, landing over 100 significant strikes. The same cannot be said about Buckley. He's in a tier around killers. Like Billy Q, 100 more than Buckley. Excuse me, I had a cough. That was my throat. 100 more Billy Q is than Buckley. Like, give me Billy Q all day in that one. So because of the price, because I think it stays on the feet, because it's a close fight, give me the guy that throws more volume. Give me the guy that is better at taking damage. I'll take the dog and Chris Curtis to get it done. But it should be a fun one for sure. Yeah,
and you can see 2 fighters who have somewhat similar style, especially when they're going to stay on the feet. And you're not, sure who's going to win those exchanges. Give me the fighter with the volume, right? Who throws almost double the amount of strikes. Like, if it's a close fight and they kind of, hold true to their past patterns with the volume is usually going to, win that decision in the end. And then both these guys, I think, have reasonable power. So Yeah, I like the Curtis call on the upset over Buckley, but should be certainly a fun one. We'll keep it moving. Next fight on the card, another one of the big favorites here. Edmund Shahbazyan is about a minus 300 favorite over Dalcha Lungiambula. Yeah, so I guess the kind of the chalk, at least in terms of the odds. Could be Shahbazyan, Ankalaev, and Simon. So talk to me about this fight and talk to me about where you're leaning going on your kind of big spends on the card.
Yeah, I'm leaning Simon, Shahbazyan, and then Ankalaev, actually, when ownership's all included. And I like Ankalaev a lot. There's just always, we'll get to that fight, but he can be boring, and he's fine fighting in the smart fight. Whereas this fight with Edmund, yeah, I mean, I think he'll definitely be a lot lower owned than Ankalaev will be. He came to the UFC very, very highly touted. I mean, the guy's only 25 years old right now, and he is 4-3 in the UFC. I mean, he came in the UFC at a very young age, got off to a great start, starting 4-0. Then he fights Derek Brunson, Jack Hermanson, and Nasruddin Imavov. 3 very, very good opponents. And all 3 of those guys, what do? They all have the threat of on the mat, that their problems on the mat. All Derek Brunson did was take him down and dominate him. Jack Hermanson got him to the mat. And Edmund had no answers. Nasruddin Imavov did a lot of his best work when the fight was on the mat. Now, Shahbazyan gets a huge step down in competition from those 3 to take on Dalcha, who he's lost 3 of his last 4, and those guys who he's lost to. Marc-Andre Barriault, he did lose to Makhman Ankalaev, no shame in that. Marc-Andre Barriault, Cody Brundage, in the fight he was killing him until he got guillotined, and then Punahele Soriano. Not nearly the same caliber guys that Edmund's fighting. Edmund only 25 years old still, with all the talent that he had coming in, all the hype he had coming in. I don't think it's time to just abandon the ship from him. It kind of reminds me of the Dan Hooker fight we were talking about a little while ago, where Dan Hooker loses all these killers. Now he's fighting Claudio Poyes, way big step down in competition. Like, there's levels to this stuff. I do not think Dalcha, what's Dalcha's best attribute? Someone in chat said it. He said Big T must love Dalcha. He looks huge. Yeah, this is a Big T-yes fight. Big T was on Dalcha last fight just because he's a grown-ass man. The dude's monsters. He has power for sure. The knockouts, you'd expect more knockouts from him, though. Or you'd expect the other guys to be hurt more than they are when Dalcha fights, is how I see it.
I don't think Dalcha's very good at the end of the day. Yeah.
He can slow down as the fight goes on. Yeah. I think Edmund knocks him out first round, second round. Yeah. I think he's too fast on the feet. I think he's too powerful on the feet. I think this is, I mean, I'm not a, people forgot because Edmund's minus 300. Hooker was like minus 150 at the time, but it just feels really similar. I feel really good about Edmund.
Yeah, I think the technical advantage in the striking is going to lean heavily toward Edmund and prove. I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, to see a dominant, maybe first round victory. So I like that Edmund call, and I do think that minus 300 or so is pretty well justified. We'll move to the next fight on the card. We go to the heavyweights, right? Only heavyweight fight on this card. Chris Daukaus is an underdog to Rozenstruik, who's sitting around minus 180. You can be pretty sure these 2 guys are going to bang it out. We should see. I think we'll see someone get knocked out here, most likely, given these 2 fighters. Big favorite to finish inside the distance, as you might expect. And yeah, don't go get a beer at the start of this one. It could be quick between these 2. What do you see, Rozenstruik and Daukaus?
Yeah, I mean, this fight pretty much copy and paste the Tai Tuivasa Pavlovich fight of last week, where you had 2 grown-ass men. They get in the cage. They're going to be swinging.
Pavlovich, by the way, man, that guy is scary.
That's a scary boy. Yeah. I saw Islam posted a picture. Him and Pavlovich were out eating lunch or something together. I'm like, don't mess with those 2 on the street.
Yeah,
what he did to Ty was bad. The problem is, it's not the exact same. It's not just copy and paste exactly from the last time, because Jairzinho Rozenstruik, the thing with this guy is he just never lets his hands go. A little better recently, but he's fine just like staring at you. And when his punch lands, I mean, you can go out at any time. He has some of the most power in the world.
He comes from that like kickboxing background, right? A lot of those guys are more cautious than the guys that come up through MMA.
Yeah, exactly what he comes through. So the question is minus 550 to end inside the distance. It's like plus 100 to end inside the first round. Like, I really do love this fight at 8,700, 7,500. The problem is if this fight gets outside the first round, if it's Jairzinho winning, I'm not sure he's going to be on the optimal, just because I love the top tier. I think we see a bunch of huge scores. Now, if it's in the first round, like it's supposed to, yeah, I like Jairzinho. As far as Daukaus, he can win in the second round and still be out. I mean, any win at 7,500 you'll take because we might not have dogs win. Now, who do I pick in this one? Is even though Jairzinho doesn't really throw too much volume, I think the huge power advantage he has, whereas Daukaus has been knocked out in his last 2 fights, one to Derek Lewis, no shame in that, and one to Curtis Blades, which you don't love being knocked out by Curtis Blades. Again, he was scared of the wrestling. Blades has power, but he's not known for that. Jairzinho definitely hits harder. Daukaus has the volume advantage. Can he stay safe for 15 minutes though? I'm going to take the guy with the power. I'm going to take the kickboxer. I'm going to take the powerful striker. I hope he lets his hands go. But man, it's a high variance, heavyweight fight, minus 550 to end inside the distance. I like Jairzinho. He's my pick, but I could have more Daukaus when it's all said and done just because that $1,200 difference.
I assume you'll have some lineups maybe that fade this fight too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because like you said, I mean, you're going to be sweating like at any, if you have good lineups that fade this fight, you're going to be sweating it early on. But you don't have to sweat it for too long, right? Like if it
5 minutes.
If it gets outside the first round and Rozenstruik, like you said, wins, probably not going to get the job done at 8,700 because he just won't have. It's just going to be probably the small volume of strikes he lands, and then whenever he gets the finish will be the entirety of a score for the, most likely. So
it was against when Jairzinho fought Augusto Sakai a couple fights ago. I was in first in the big one, 3-way split for 53,000. All I needed was Jairzinho not to get a first round finish. Threw like 6 significant strikes, clips him with 4 seconds left, and that one shot was all it needed, and it finished with like 3 seconds left
in the first round.
Yeah, and
you wouldn't have been on the optimal for the second round.
I would probably, if he just landed those a couple more strikes and then it got called, second round I would have won. Yeah. But yeah, the first round. But that's what he does. He could have nothing. One punch, it's over. That's the power this guy got. But it's a tilting roster. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, no question. That's 2 big heavyweights, and it could be a quick one, certainly between Rozenstruik and Daukaus. Let's go to the next fight on the card, Jay Perrin and Raul Rosas Jr. It is Rosas, who's a decent favorite, sitting around minus 230. I think actually the 4th or 5th highest favorite on this card. Talk to me about Perrin and Rosas.
Well, yeah, this is the fight everyone's looking forward to. Raul Rosas Jr. making his UFC debut off the Contender Series. He was 17 years old when he fought on Contender Series. September 20th of this year. Comes in there. His parents had to sign a waiver for him. The youngest fighter to ever do it. And this guy, so his dad was a fighter. This dude's been in the gym ever since he was a little kid. I mean, you look at his ears, you look at everything. Like the dude's 18 years old only, but he already looks like he is a fighter. Like he's been fighting for a long time. He's one-dimensional though. The guy needs to fight on the mat, and he knows that. His striking is definitely a work in progress. He's not going to try and strike for long. If it's on the feet, he's going to get beat up. This is the clash of styles. When it's on the mat, though, his grappling is very, very good. His transitions are slick. He looks like he has the cardio. It was a high-paced fight in the Contender Series. He went 15 minutes. Can he get the fight on the mat? Is he better? Can he scramble? I think he's better on the mat for sure. Can he hold Jay Perrin down? Can he always be one step ahead with his transitions? This fight, he cannot let Jay Perrin up for long periods of time. Otherwise, he's just going to get his face boxed in. Now, when I look at stuff like this, 18-year-old Raul Rosas, 6-0, UFC's hyping him up, or the baddies of the world and all that, the UFC knows what they're doing. They're in their meeting. They have their whole UFC roster in the rankings. Who can this guy beat? They go down all the worst guys.
Yeah.
How can he beat him? How can he beat him? Easier match. That's literally what they do. So you look at Jay Perrin. When I was looking at it, though, I was like, man, I think there's a lot of other guys you could find a little easier fights than Jay Perrin. He is 10-6. You look at his UFC record, he's 0-2. He lost to Mario Batista, who was a complete stud, by decision. Then he loses Diori Kilang by decision. He came on in the 3rd round in that fight. If this fight's on the feet, Jay Perrin's going to look really, really good. His cardio looks good. The only thing is, how can he get off his back? Can he do all that? I don't know the complete answer, but I know that I get a big dog right now against one of the most popular fighters, and I get a 29-year-old grown-ass man against a kid and 18 years old who just doesn't have that physical strength and all that yet. I'm taking a shot on the dog. Does that mean I'll have no Rosas Jr. in DFS? Of course not, because his path is takedowns, control time, reversals, submission. It's the DFS dream with this guy. If it's on the feet, though, Jay Perrin's going to be one of the lowest owned fighters on the card, get you all the leverage from the other guy. And I'm just a sucker. It's not the first time I've tried to go against these younger kids. I'm just a sucker when you're a grown man with the grown physical strength against a guy that the guy has not dealt adversity. What happens if it's a 1-1 war going to the third round, blood everywhere? Like you got to dig deep, man. I mean, I don't know the feeling, but he hasn't been in a fight like that where Jay Perrin has dealt with that adversity. So I'm getting a big dog on the card. You need to pick some dogs. It's not a popular pick. It's not fun going against the new toy. But yeah, I'm gonna take the dog shot. I think it's a dog or pass on the money line.
Yeah, I like it. Rosas, he's not going to be winning any beauty pageants.
He's a fighter, man.
Yeah, I mean that's good. I'll back the guy that not the most handsome of fellows, but I do like what you're saying. And yeah, we just sometimes see these hype trains get a little bit out of control. It just feels like one. Maybe it is. Most people obviously aren't going to want to go with Perrin here, but like you said, not a bad fighter. Featured prelim plus 200 or so, going to be low owned, cheap on DFS. I get it. With Perrin, I'll probably mix and match both those guys because I do think if Rosas pulls off his game plan, he's going to score really
big boy.
Well, right? Yeah, big boy
for
score.
sure.
So
I mean, maybe he just goes out there if he goes out there and gets a first round submission, I really wouldn't even be surprised. His rolls, his transitions on the mat, like he was going for some crazy ass stuff on the Contender Series. Like you can tell he is very confident when he's on the mat. He is a problem for sure.
Yeah. The more we talk about this one, I think you do want to have one of these two fighters because either Rosas is going to get the job done the way he wants to. If he does, he's probably going to be on the winner with a big score. And then on the other side, if he can't do that, if Perrin pulls off the upset, however it is, at 7,200 at low ownership, he's got a chance to make it too. So probably a fight you're going to want a lot of exposure to in general, one way or the other. Let's get to the main card. Before we do, just a reminder to hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Don't miss out on any of the content we've got popping up. 3-4 shows a day, it seems like, free here on the Run Pure Sports channel. Obviously, big NFL Sunday tomorrow. World Cup has been a smash for everybody who's played that. NBA rolling right along, of course, all that good stuff. So yeah, hit the like, hit the subscribe if you want to join the movement. You can use RPS Heater 25 for 25% off your first month's payment. And get in the Discord if you're not there, all that good stuff from the Run Pure Sports team. All right, let's get to the main card, the pay-per-view card. It starts off with, I think, a really fun fight, a clash of styles here between Ilia Topuria and Bryce Mitchell. I don't have the odds in front of me. Best Fight Odds doesn't have them up. Do you know them off the top of your hand here between Mitchell and Topuria?
Yeah, you got to scroll all the way down or control C Topuria, but it's minus 145 plus 125 for Bryce. Minus 145 Topuria plus 125 Bryce. Minus 135 to end inside the distance. Mitchell plus 350 to end inside the distance. Topuria plus 180.
Yeah, makes sense. So Topuria, the slight favorite here. Obviously, he's the striker versus the man. I've been really impressed with Bryce Mitchell's grappling ability, all the takedowns, all the control time. Just seems to do it to everybody. So obviously, the question here is, can he do it to Topuria? That's the big question mark on the feet. Obviously, this one won't be close. Two good fighters here, and whoever wins this one will kind of vault their way up the division for sure. What do you see, Title, Topuria and Mitchell?
I mean, best fight on the card, and it's not even close. Like, this is why I've been excited for this fight ever since it's been announced. Yeah. Bad blood between the two. Someone's always got to go. 12-0 Ilia, 15-0 Bryce Mitchell. Like, these are the fights that you get up for at the end of the day. It's such a good fight. Like, on the feet, it's Ilia. It's Ilia all day. Now, Bryce's striking is, I think, way underrated. It's every single day or every single fight I've seen improvements. The thing with Bryce, and it's very interesting, he's a very smart fighter. Now, I'm not saying he's a very smart human. He's a very smart fighter in the octagon. Everything is thought out. And he dropped Edson Barbosa with his left hand last fight. Now people are like, how in the world? Edson Barbosa, one of the better strikers we've seen. Bryce Mitchell just going to the mat. But his takedown presence and how scared people are to get taken down sets up his striking so much. And the same thing with Ilya. Ilya's grappling, Ilya's wrestling, phenomenal. You haven't really seen it inside the UFC. If you look at his UFC run, he's 4-0. 3 of those 4 wins have gone or have ended by him knocking out Jai Herbert, Ryan Hall, Damon Jackson. But going prior to the UFC, all you see, his first fight, submission, 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 KO. So all of them ended by submission besides one. If you go back and watch him, he can wrestle, he can grapple. The dude's a complete stud at 25. Now, who's the better grappler and wrestler? We're going to find that out, which I'm so excited for. Who do I have to guess, though? I mean, I can't say anyone's better than Bryce Mitchell with wrestling and grappling from what I've seen just with the eye test.
Bryce Mitchell's he seems like he was born to wrestle. He's got
it's the farmer strength, man.
It is.
All he does in the that strength is different. Those guys they use all the different muscles. Doing all, if you follow Bryce Mitchell, he's on the ranch. He's doing all that different stuff. The farmer's tough, where you're not bench pressing. You're not just doing you're working all these muscles. And you could tell when he grabs you, DC, you're going down.
That's what I think. I think when I look at these two fighters, I do have a lot of respect for Ilya Topuria as a fighter. I think he's going to have certainly a bright career. But who's the more special of these two? Who has the more unique skill set? To me, that's Bryce Mitchell, right? He just seems like a different dude in there. His style, there's nobody quite like him that fights quite like Bryce Mitchell does. So I'm kind of surprised, frankly, he's an underdog in this one. But yeah, I'll lean the Bryce Mitchell side, and he certainly scores well if he's able to implement his game plan, right?
Yeah, does he ever with the takedown? I mean, the big thing too is, man, Bryce Mitchell has cardio for days. Bryce Mitchell will fight for your money. Just listen to what this dude's saying in the face-off. So he's willing to die. I know all what Bryce Mitchell's going to give me at dog money. Ilya's getting drunk with Shomo or something I saw on his YouTube before weigh-ins. I don't know, man. I think it's definitely a dog or pass. I think it's a great fight. Yes, yeah. Could Ilya knock him out in the first round before he even hits the mat? No doubt about it. But I know the longer this fight goes, I know Bryce Mitchell's cardio's there. And Ilya, look at his one decision win against Yusuf Zalal. Yusuf Zalal is a very good fighter in the UFC. He was slowing down in that third round. You start slowing down against Bryce Mitchell, you're getting taken down. You're getting your back taken. A lot of bad things are about to happen to you if Bryce smells blood and you're getting tired. So give me the dog and Bryce, man. If a $600 savings, I think he can have success with the wrestling. Survive early, be smart early. But man, that wrestling and grappling, this fight's so good though. This fight is so good.
Yeah, I've been on the Bryce Mitchell train. I need to see someone stop his style, his wrestling, the farm boy style before I go against him, especially as a dog. So Bryce Mitchell for me as well. Next fight on the card should be another good one. Dricus du Plessis and Darren Till. It is du Plessis sitting around minus 190 or so. Good power from du Plessis. I've been impressed by him. This one, another one that is favored plus or minus 180 or so to finish inside the distance. What do you see between these two titles?
I mean, what Darren Till are we getting is the question.
Yeah.
Is it Darren Till when he was starting off his UFC career, beating Donald Cerrone, beating Wonderboy Thompson? Look at 4 of his last 5 losses. Tyron Woodley, Jorge Masvidal, beats Kevin Gastelum by split decision, Robert Whittaker, Derek Brunson. There's no shame in those losses. However, he's taken over a year off. We haven't seen him since September of 2021. And it's the thing, all the stuff we see in the media with him. He's just how focused is he on fighting? He's all with Chimaev. He's trying to, you just see him all over the media, looks like, for the wrong things and not him grinding, him training. He's been off for over a year. He never comes in as in the best shape. I mean, he's definitely strong, but he's not coming in just absolutely ripped right here. I don't know exactly what Darren Till I'm going to get. And now you look at that, and then you go and look, and he averages 2.26 significant strikes per minute. The dude that doesn't throw. He's always had that problem. Now, what does he have? A lot of power, very heavy hands, solid kicks. Kind of his 18 wins have ended by knockout. I think he needs a knockout du Plessis, otherwise he's going to lose a decision or get knocked out himself. You can't land that little volume and win decisions unless you're getting knockdowns every single round. Yes, I think he can knock out du Plessis. He's only been knocked out once. However, what does Dricus land? He lands a lot of volume, 6.55 significant strikes per minute. He walks forward. He also has a nasty submission game. If he hurts you, you're up beside the fence. He sees your neck, he'll grab that guillotine. He's just a really dangerous fighter that's always looking for the finish. I mean, I've been really impressed with him. He walks forward, he throws a ton of volume, he can eat shots, he has a ton of power himself. I know what I'm getting with him, where as far as Till, I haven't seen him a while. I don't know what Darren Till I'm getting. He doesn't throw a lot of volume. Sure, he's a live dog, no doubt about it. Always has a puncher's chance, can land that punch. But if he doesn't land that punch, I just don't see him winning. So, yeah, it's streakers for me.
I'm a little surprised Duplessis isn't a bigger favorite than minus 185 or so in this one. That feels almost a little trappy, but I'll be falling for it as well. I do think Duplessis gets the job done as the favorite. Next fight on the card, Alex Morono, underdog to Santiago Ponzinibbio. Ponzinibbio sitting around minus 190. This one is one of the fights that's actually favored to go the distance. Not a huge amount, sitting minus 130 to go to decision, but compared to a lot of the other fights on the card, that is certainly notable. Ponzinibbio and Morono, what do you see here, Title?
Yeah, the 12 fights that expect, like you said, not expected to finish. I see plus 100 to finish those. So like you're flipping coins. Alex Morono stepped in for Robbie Lawler on Monday, so he's taking this fight on less than a week's notice. What a gangster move for Alex Morono. Santiago Ponzinibbio, it's not a fun fight for anyone. He's definitely past his prime. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. I mean, this dude was once thought of it as the next big thing before all of his injuries. He's still come back. He's looked solid. I think this fight stays on the feet. I don't love fights that stay on the feet. It's supposed to go to decision. I wouldn't be surprised to see either of these guys get a finish, but I respect both their durability. I think it's just a competitive. I respect their skills. I think it goes to decision. I'm not paying 8,700 for a decision guy that's going to be on the feet. So then I look at Morono at 7,500. I'm struggling finding fades on this card. Right now, I have this whole fight as a fade right now in 20 entry below. I've been going back and forth though. Do I move and get some Alex Morono? Because I'm taking the dog in Morono. I think it's a clear dog or pass spot. I think it's a competitive 15-minute striking match. Give me the $1,200 savings. Give me the dog money on Morono. However, I still don't love his upside. A lot of these dogs on the card have a lot of upside. I mean, if they win, Daukaus is going to score a ton. Right. Alexander Hernandez is going to score a lot. So there's not just upside in the top range, there's upside in the bottom range, which you are sacrificing. But he does have a higher floor than those guys. I think he's live. The reason I keep coming back, and I think I'm probably going to keep him as a fade, is he is taking this fight on less than a week's notice. So it is a tall task to even get the win. But it's by far my least favorite fight on the card for DFS. But I think ownership will follow as well. But I'll take the shot on the dog with Morono at the plus money and the savings if I had to pick her out.
Makes sense. That's Ponzinibbio and Morono. Let's get to the penultimate fight. The hype train Paddy Pimblett. It's going right now. Did you see the Ariel Helwani feud with Pimblett? That was pretty interesting. He's a decent favorite here, minus 250 or so against Jared Gordon. Pimblett's expensive, 9,100. He's certainly looked impressive. Getting 2 submission finishes in his last 2 fights was something I didn't necessarily expect to see out of him. So he's proven more versatile maybe than I expected. But yeah, Jared Gordon, no pushover here. He's won 4 of his last 5. Does have some decent wrestling and control time. So I don't know. Do you think this minus 250, minus 260 on Pimblett is justified, Title?
Yeah. So Patty's going to lose soon. There's no doubt about it. The question is it going to be Jared Gordon? So we'll look at Patty quick. He's 3-0 in the UFC. I mean, he came over from Cage Warriors. He was the champion. It's not like this guy just randomly evolved, came onto the scene. Like he was fighting outside the promotion. He took his time to get in the UFC. He's done everything right. So he makes his debut against Luigi Vendramini. I took the shot on Luigi Vendramini. Patty was so chalky in DFS about the leverage from Luigi. Thought it was a close fight. And Luigi absolutely cracks the man. I cannot believe he ate the shot. I thought Patty was completely done. Showed a lot of resilience, showed a lot of power on his feet, ends up knocking out Luigi Vendramini. I was very impressed with that one. Then he fights Rodrigo Vargas, who I thought was a step down in competition. That was when we were at Big T's house. Yeah. And he gets cracked early. Like, he gets cracked. He has to work his way back. And then what does Vargas stink at when he's off his back? Patty does what he does there. Not too impressed with that win. Then he gets Jordan Levitt, the most one-dimensional grappler of all time.
He was losing that fight, too.
Yeah, I mean, it was like Levitt was pushing him up against the cage and all that, and then Patty found a way to win. He gets the biggest step up against Jared Gordon. Now, Jared Gordon, he's a solid fighter. There's no doubt about it. This is going to be Paddy's toughest fight in the UFC by a mile. Jared Gordon throws good volume, lands 5.53 significant strikes per minute. And like you said, he can mix in the wrestling, averages 1.97 takedowns. The thing is, on the map, I don't think he's going to want to wrestle. Paddy is very good grappler. He's better grappler than he is a striker. 9 of his 19 wins have ended by submission. And I saw something very interesting on Twitter this past week. Paddy said that he rolled with Jared Gordon in 2018 and said he submitted Gordon twice in 5 minutes, one with the guillotine and one with the triangle choke. So yeah, I didn't think Jared Gordon wanted to go to the mat before this. I'm going to assume it's true. I mean, you can't. I don't know how you'd make that up. So Jared Gordon doesn't want this fight on the feet. I think it's Paddy all day there. On the feet, I still think it's Paddy at the end of the day, though. Gordon can throw more volume, but Gordon's not. I don't think Paddy's going to be worried about what's coming at him from Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon's going to be worried what's coming at him from Paddy. Paddy has put on a lot of muscle. He's wild on the feet because he doesn't care if he goes to the mat, and he hits hard. And what is Jared Gordon's least or most concerning thing for me? He's been knocked out in 4 of his 5 losses. The other losses come by submission. He's been finished in all 5 of them. Jared Gordon is a great leverage spot on this slate. He will be one of my highest owned dogs just because I think Paddy is going to be so highly owned. I think this is a very high-paced fight. A lot of Paddy's fights are. A lot of Jared Gordon fights are high-paced. Both guys have solid cardio. Winner's going to score well, I think, in this one. I need to pick Paddy because if I think it's on the ground, I think Paddy has advantage. On the feet, he has more power. He has more finishes or more paths to a finish. If this goes to decision, Jared Gordon can win that fight and score well. Yeah. If it finishes, I don't think Jared Gordon's winning this fight, though. So is the price justified? I think it maybe is about right. I wouldn't bet minus 250. I wouldn't throw him in parlays. So I guess maybe I'd say dog or pass if I had to bet it. But Paddy is my pick. This is a great fight to target in DFS, though.
Gordon lands a lot of strikes, and like you said, Paddy can be hurt. So I do think Gordon's got a path to victory here. I kind of like the Gordon by decision plus 460 that's sitting out there. I do think he's got a chance to out-volume Paddy and kind of get the win that way, but will certainly be fun. And yeah, I'm with you. I don't think this is necessarily the fight to jump on the dog against Paddy, but it's coming soon. Maybe Paddy's next fight will be on the other side, but I'm with you. I do think he's the more skilled fighter in this one. All right, let's get to the main event, light heavyweight title fight here. After the vacated belt, it will be Jan Błachowicz and Magomed Ankalaev. Of course, it is Ankalaev. Big favorite here, minus 350 or so, getting the title fight, one fight early, but certainly not affecting the odds. And yeah, he looks, I wouldn't say he looks unbeatable, but he looks good every single time out there. Like you said, you've kind of thought he'd be a future champion for a while. And, well, here he is fighting for the light heavyweight belt as a big favorite. Ankalaev and Błachowicz. What do you see here, title? Yeah,
I've been on the Ankalaev train. I mean, the guy is just so well-rounded. He doesn't take chances. Now, that's not necessarily the most fun for us fan-friendly guys. We want to see fun fights. Ankalaev is very defensively sound. He doesn't put himself in positions to get cracked. But isn't that what you want? If you're backing your hard-earned money on a fighter, I parlayed him multiple ways. I took him at like minus 230 when it came out. I was unfortunately, I was limited. I hardly was able to get any down, but I was trying to put the house on Ankalaev here and then Shavkat next week. Shavkat gets Jeff Neal. That dude's been a complete. I thought that was the free money of all free money. Wasn't able to get as much as I wanted, but where does Jan win this fight? I don't know. Puncher's chance, Polish power. Sure, he can connect, but man, Ankalaev is so defensively sound. I think he can pick Jan off at range. If we'll just say that Ankalaev's struggling a bit on the feet or it's 50-50. Jan has decent takedown defense, but he has nothing off of his back. Ankalaev can go to his offensive wrestling, one takedown, should win him the round, ground and pound, whatever it may be. Cardio advantage. Jan can slow down. I mean, look what Glover did to Jan. I mean, Jan quit on himself. He tapped in the second round of that fight. Ankalaev can do that as well.
9 years younger, Ankalaev. The cardio, I think, is a huge advantage if he needs it. Right? We'll see. Yeah.
I can't find where Jan wins this fight outside of Polish power. You land the shot. It's MMA for you. But this fight was the easiest one on the card for me. I've known about who else. So I will say, though, disclaimer, I get Jan fights wrong all the time. I've been awful picking Jan. I went Izzy over Jan. I picked Jan over Glover. Like, I've been awful with them. I think I had Rakic over him too, who got hurt that day. Like, I've been bad with them for sure, but I feel good about this one. Now the question comes in DFS. Ankalaev. I think so. Decision or finish? I'm going to say finish. 25 minutes is a long time to be in there with Ankalaev. You're talking about the cardio. If I think someone's better in every aspect of the fight, we're talking about light heavyweights. I'm going to say Jan finishes, but he is fine fighting the boring fight. So it's not like a decision surprises me. A 3rd round finish, a 4th round finish might not be optimal with how good these upper tier guys are. I'll have some for sure, since I think he finishes. I think he does use his offensive wrestling more, so I think he scores better than he has. I like Ankalaev for the price. I also love Edmund Shahbazyan for the price. I also love Simon for the price earlier. There's Billy Q. There's like upper range is so good. Ankalaev is going to be one of the highest owned fighters. I don't think you have to go crazy or go all in. Even though I do think he wins, I'm going to have none of Jan. You can still play 40%, something like that. Mix in some of the other upper tier fighters and go about it that way. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play no Jan. I'll have some Ankalaev. Very confident he wins, but he can win and not break the slate. So that's how I'm approaching this fight. Could be boring, could be fun to watch. As long as Jan doesn't win, it'll be fun for me though.
Yeah, Jan, I think really his only chance is kind of an early knockout, which this is like the worst guy to go against if you need an early knockout, right? A defensively sound fighter who doesn't take any risks. So just a tough spot for Jan here, and I do think that minus 350 line is certainly justified. Ankalaev the pick for me as well. And that'll do it for UFC 282. All 12 fights there. Do you expect DraftKings to move back the start time here? It's still listed at
they should
at 6 Eastern. So
I would hope, but I don't know for sure because it was 3:30, so 5:30. Then they moved it to 6. So maybe not. We'll keep an eye on it, but just plan 6.
Yeah, obviously, if you're playing on DraftKings, make sure to keep an eye on that. Start time might move with the canceled bouts that we've had recently. But that'll do it for us. Again, reminder, hit the like and subscribe. It does help us bring you these shows and all our other shows free of charge here on the YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in, as always, for Title. I'm DC, and we'll check you next time.